Perhaps this has made you feel strange before. You're scrolling through social media, seeing couples everywhere, wedding announcements, relationship milestones, and somewhere deep inside you feel a quiet discomfort. Not jealousy exactly, but a kind of pressure, an unspoken expectation from the world that whispers, you should want this too. But to be honest, you simply don't. You prefer your quiet independence, your undisturbed space, your life shaped entirely by your own hands. If this sounds familiar, take a deep breath, because today I'm going to talk about something that hardly anyone openly admits. The real, intimate, and often misunderstood world of women who have chosen to live without men. And no, you are neither cold nor damaged. You are simply listening to something much deeper within your nature. Today I'll show you 6 profound truths that explain why some women thrive in solitude, why that is not only natural but could also be a sign of a valuable inner psychological wholeness. So stay with me until the end, because if you've ever felt guilty for not seeking partnership, you may realize today that this has much more to do with your psychological completeness than with something missing. And before we dive in, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment. Do you also feel a quiet resistance when people ask why you're still single? I'd really like to know if you see yourself in this. Have you ever wondered why some women seem to need romantic partnership to feel complete, while you, on the other hand, feel most alive when you are alone? Or maybe you enjoy connection, you have meaningful friendships, but as soon as someone suggests you need a man in your life, something in you recoils. It's as if the mere suggestion exhausts something vital within you, and there's an explanation for that. Throughout history, women have been told that completion comes through union with the masculine, through marriage, through partnership, through being chosen. But what if that's not the whole truth? What if some women are born with a different calling, a different way of being in the world? You see, there are 2 fundamental ways energy moves through a person. Some people direct their energy outward. They are nourished by connection, by partnership, by constant companionship. The presence of another gives them strength. But you function almost in the opposite way. You recharge from within. Your source of energy is independence, self-reflection, creative solitude. When you are overly exposed to partnership expectations, constant compromises, sharing your space, adjusting to another's rhythms, your soul begins to shut down. Not out of fear, but out of psychological necessity. And this is the key point. Not wanting a man in your life is not a deficit. It is a direct expression of how your energy is structured. If you are someone who finds wholeness within, and many women are without even realizing it, then your life is not just acceptable, but sacred, a complete world, a place where your energy self-regulates, where your psyche finds its natural balance. And when someone enters that space with their expectations, even with the best of intentions, they touch invisible threads you've been weaving all your life. The mere presence of romantic entanglement forces you to activate a performance, a social role, and in doing so, you move away from your true self. And you know what? That is deeply exhausting. This way of being is not a conscious choice, but a disposition of the soul. So when you try to go against this inner truth, it only leads to more conflict and fragmentation. Some might say, oh, she's just afraid, she just doesn't want commitment. But what many don't see is this. What seems like avoidance or independence is often just self-protection, a psychological wisdom. an invisible boundary erected by your deepest knowing to guard your inner wholeness. There's a part of you that you may not even fully understand, but it's there, quiet, powerful, and it governs your feelings, your choices, your deepest sense of what's right for you. This is what lives in the hidden places of your psyche. When society tells you that you should be partnered, you're not just opening yourself to judgment. You're unconsciously being asked to abandon a space where your energy is at its purest, but also at its most vulnerable, and that's exactly where your deepest wisdom begins to act. This hidden wisdom contains everything you've learned for some reason, aspects of your strength you had to claim, old patterns you've broken, lessons learned, truths discovered. Imagine this. Someone asks when you're going to settle down. You sit there, feeling suddenly cornered, and instead of feeling excited, you feel uneasy inside. A strange discomfort rises up, and sometimes you can't even explain why. The truth is, the presence of that question, their concern, their assumptions, unconsciously touches something you've already resolved within yourself, something you've already looked at, something that no longer lives in darkness. That's why it's said, what you bring into consciousness becomes your power. And sometimes that power manifests as quiet certainty, a seemingly simple conversation that reveals your unshakable foundation, a sense of knowing yourself, an almost peaceful ability to let others misunderstand. It's not arrogance, it's your wisdom protecting your inner integrity. And there's more. This hidden place doesn't just contain your strength. It also holds tremendous potential, abilities, talents, and truths you finally had the courage to embrace. The more you live authentically, honor your choices, stop apologizing for your independence, the more room your soul has to breathe. So if you feel complete without romantic partnership, if the thought of losing yourself overwhelms you, your deepest self might be saying, hey, listen, you need your wholeness, you need your freedom, you need yourself. And hearing that is an act of profound courage. Do you know that feeling when you're in your own space, the door closes, you're completely alone, and you just are? Your life, when lived without dependence, is not just a physical reality. It's a symbol of the soul. It reflects your inner state. And when you build a life that stands complete on its own, you are not just living independently, you are entering sacred territory. Symbols speak more about us than words ever could. And a woman's self-determined life is one of the most powerful symbols of the integrated psyche. It represents the self, the center of being, where everything finds balance, where true healing happens. Each aspect of your life symbolizes something deep. Your career, your creative power, your home, your inner sanctuary, your friendships, your chosen connections, your passions, your soul's expression, your solitude, your inner marriage, and your boundaries, the threshold between you and others' expectations. When you live without needing masculine validation from outside, something profound happens. You are not rejecting the masculine, you are integrating it within yourself. You become both the nurturer and the achiever, the receptive and the active, the dreamer and the doer. If you feel at peace in your independence, then something inside you is also in order. But if you feel that society's pressure disturbs your calm, questions your choices, disrupts your knowing, then perhaps your soul is whispering, this life is still being built. I'm not ready to compromise all I've created, and that's perfectly okay. Protecting your independence also means protecting yourself. Respecting your own path is a central step toward wholeness and integration. So, if you've ever felt guilty for not wanting partnership, for preferring your own company, now you know you're not isolating yourself, you're honoring the temple where your soul resides. Have you ever put on an interested face when someone talks about their relationship, nodding along, asking polite questions, while secretly thinking, "I'm so glad that's not my life"? It sounds harsh, doesn't it? You feel like you should want what they have, like something's wrong with you. But don't worry, there's profound understanding for what's happening within you. There's what can be called the persona, the mask worn to show oneself to the world. It is the social role, the version of you that adapts to family gatherings, to social events, to expectations, even to conversations about why you're still single. The persona isn't false, but it is limited. It's not your whole soul, just a fragment, usually the most socially acceptable one. The problem begins when you have to wear this mask constantly, even when discussing your own life choices, where you should be able to be your true self. For women who have chosen independence, and this includes many strong, intuitive, self-aware individuals, maintaining this social mask can be extremely draining. Suddenly, you have to perform, explain your choices, defend your happiness, prove you're not lonely, think about their judgment, their pity, their confusion. All of that consumes psychic energy, a lot of it. The persona is necessary, it helps you function in society. But when you mistake the persona for your true self, when you begin to doubt your own knowing because of external pressure, the soul begins to cry out. Perhaps that's why you feel such inner resistance to relationship questions. It's not about disliking partnership for others. It's about feeling forced to justify a choice that needs no justification, to uphold a socially acceptable narrative when all you really know is your own truth, your own peace, your own complete life. And do you know what's even worse? Many women spend years wearing this mask, explaining themselves, making excuses, pretending they're still looking, and are internally completely exhausted, irritated, drained. But here comes a liberating truth grounded in depth understanding. You have the right to be completely yourself in your own life. There are moments when you just want your own life, your own space, your own choices, not out of trauma or fear, but because your soul is calling for sovereignty. In such moments, many women feel strange, selfish. After all, we live in a culture that celebrates those who are partnered, coupled, committed, merged. But there's a different perspective. The impulse to remain independent was often the beginning of one of life's most important journeys, the path of becoming whole. Becoming whole means becoming who you were born to be, not what society expects, not what your parents projected, not the persona you've adopted, but your true self with strength and vulnerability, consciousness and mystery, with your essence and your truth. And this process doesn't happen in compromise, but in clarity, in self-knowledge, in honest self-examination. That's why discomfort with partnership expectations isn't just stubbornness or emotional unavailability. It is your soul trying to protect you, keeping you away from losing yourself so you can hear what is being whispered deep within you. There is something inside you that has already surfaced. But to honor that, you need to stay true to yourself. It's been said clearly, loneliness does not come from having no partner, but from being unable to live what truly matters to you. The truth is, some phases of life, perhaps entire lives, demand conscious independence, not as rejection, but as fulfillment. You don't choose solitude to escape. You choose it to live fully, clearer, stronger, more yourself. While the outside world demands conformity, partnership, traditional paths, your inner world asks for something else. Stay true. Don't compromise yet. Honor yourself first. If there was someone sitting next to you now with calm, penetrating insight, they might say, "You are not wrong for wanting your independence. You are simply listening to the voice of your soul, and that is rare." So let me now share with you 6 deep, true human insights about women who thrive without men, especially in their own lives. First, you are probably more sensitive to the energy of relationships than you realize. Some people perceive what others miss, and some women are very attuned to the psychic cost of partnership. The compromise, the adjustment, the loss of self, the unspoken resentments, all of that affects you. When someone suggests you need a man, they bring not only good intentions, but also expectations, projections, assumptions, and you feel that as heaviness, as inner resistance, and it is exhausting. Second, your psyche needs sovereignty. Independence is seen as a natural necessity to bring order to the soul. Time alone, in self-direction, helps your spirit thrive, but a single relationship can disrupt this precious balance. What others see as loneliness is in truth your system flourishing. Third, constant partnership expectations can alienate you from yourself. The true self can only emerge in inner authenticity. Romantic compromise, constant togetherness, shared decision-making, all of that can distance you from your innermost being. It's not that you dislike men, but to be with someone, you often have to diminish yourself. Fourth, the mere suggestion of partnership can activate old patterns, everything suppressed, memories, conditioning, unwanted aspects of socialized femininity. Sometimes all it takes is a casual comment about your single status, and suddenly you feel defensive or frustrated. It's not always about the person, it's about what they trigger, a part of your journey that has already been resolved. Fifth, this independence you've chosen may be the fulfillment of something sacred, your process of wholeness. Becoming whole means becoming who you truly are. And that path deepens the moment you stop trying to please expectations and start living your truths. When you realize you don't need partnership, you don't need completion from outside, not to escape life, but to engage with it more deeply and honestly. And finally, the 6th truth. You have learned to listen to yourself. You've learned to say no without guilt, to choose your own path without apology, to respect your boundaries without feeling selfish. Because every time you pretend to want partnership when you don't, every smile, every date you endure without genuine desire, you abandon yourself to fit into someone else's vision of womanhood. And you've realized you can't live like that anymore. It's time to honor your soul. Picture a woman walking alone through a vast landscape, carrying a lantern in her hand, illuminating her own path through the darkness. This is the classic image of the sovereign woman, an ancient figure with deep meaning in psychological understanding. The sovereign woman is an archetype, a primordial image, a universal energy that lives in each woman, even if we don't always recognize or embody it. But what does this have to do with you? Your choice to live without men, to build a complete life alone, everything. The sovereign woman symbolizes the inner call for self-determination, for wisdom and self-knowledge. It's an impulse that drives you to choose your own path, to build your own home, not to escape relationship, but to honor what is going on inside of you. The sovereign woman lives in independence because she knows only in self-possession does the brightest light appear. This archetype doesn't represent empty loneliness or fear of intimacy, but the courage to live authentically, to face societal expectations, doubts, judgments, and in doing so, to discover your own inner wholeness. If you feel that almost irresistible desire not to compromise your independence, to remain in your own rhythm, then it may be your inner sovereign calling. She asks you to trust yourself, not to lose yourself in the expectations of the outer world, but to reconnect with your core being. This understanding holds that answering this call is essential to mental and emotional health. And you know what? Following the path of the sovereign woman is also an act of resistance against the frantic pressure of society, against diminishing relationships, against the constant demand to be partnered and traditional. It is an act of self-love, of soul honor. So the next time someone asks you why you don't want a man in your life, remember the sovereign woman within you. She stands there with her lantern, showing you that true light is born when you've claimed your own wholeness, and it is completely okay to need independence to find yourself fully. You can create rituals that protect your independence, such as morning routines just for you, creative time, solo travel, building a home that reflects only your vision. At the same time, you can choose intentional connections with people who truly see you and who respect your path. This balance isn't easy at first, but it is liberating, and most importantly, you don't have to justify it. You owe no explanation to anyone except yourself. Society may not understand it, but your soul knows what it needs. Becoming whole means becoming true to yourself even when the world demands otherwise. So, allow yourself this path, honor the sovereign woman within you, and cultivate connections that enrich your life instead of requiring you to diminish it. Then independence no longer becomes isolation but a sacred space for living fully. I know holding this truth isn't easy. The world is loud, full of expectations, and an inner voice sometimes judges you for not wanting partnership. But honoring your choice is not selfishness. It is an act of deep self-love and integrity. First, learn to recognize your inner knowing. Does your soul feel constricted by partnership expectations? Your mind confused by constant questions? Your energy drained by justifying yourself? These are signs that your system needs honoring. When you notice this, allow yourself to stand firm, even if it means disappointing others or challenging their beliefs. Second, communicate clearly. You don't have to justify or explain everything. A simple, "This is my path, I am complete as I am," is enough. People who truly love you will understand. And those who don't, that's their journey. Third, create a sacred life. It could be a home entirely yours, a career you've built alone, routines just for yourself, friendships you've chosen. There you connect with your wholeness. There your inner sovereign feels safe. And finally, be gentle with yourself. Don't expect to always satisfy others or meet traditional expectations. You're allowed to just be with yourself, to build a life that honors your truth. Honoring your independence means honoring your soul. It's the path to becoming whole, as the deepest wisdom teaches. We've reached the end of this journey, but in truth, it's only just beginning for you. Together, we've explored 6 profound truths, met the archetype of the sovereign woman, and discovered how independence can become a source of deep wisdom.